I'm 80 years old, and for about 5 years there, I wasn't really anything at all. I don't say that for pity. I say it because if you're somewhere in the neighborhood of where I was retired, quiet house, days that all taste about the same, then you already know exactly what I mean, and nobody had to explain it to you either. That gray, that flat. You get up, you have your coffee, you look at the clock, and the clock looks back at you, and neither of you has much to say. Name's Ken Halverson, Toledo, Ohio. 50 years of carpenter finish work, mostly. Cabinets, staircases, the stuff that shows. Anybody can frame a wall and hide the mistakes behind drywall. I built the parts people run their hands over. A drawer that closes with a little sigh. A stair rail that feels right under your palm the whole way up. I was good at it. I'm not bragging, I'm just telling you, because it matters to the rest of this. That work was me. 50 years I was the man who made the thing right, and then one Friday I wasn't. I hung up the apron, they gave me a card everybody signed, somebody's wife made a sheet cake, and Monday morning I woke up and there was no shop to go to, no board to true up, nothing that needed my hands. My wife had been gone a good while by then, not passed, just gone, moved on to a life that fit her better, and honestly, I don't blame her, because a man married to his workbench isn't much company. The kids were grown and scattered, one out in Denver, one down in Georgia, good kids, busy, you know how it is. The phone rings on Sundays if it rings, so there I was, healthy enough. A little money, a house that was too quiet, and a garage full of tools I'd stopped touching because what's the point of building a bookshelf nobody asked for? I want to be honest with you, because I've watched enough of these to know when a fella's dressing it up. It wasn't dramatic. There was no rock bottom, no big cry. It was quieter and I think worse than that. It was just the lights going down slow, one by one, till I'd sit in my own kitchen at 2 in the afternoon and realize I hadn't said a word out loud to anybody in 3 days, and that I didn't especially care whether I did. That's the part that scared me, when it finally scared me. Not the being alone, the not caring. I ran my thumb under the kitchen chair one day. Old habit, 50 years of it. You feel the underside of a chair to see if whoever built it gave a damn. And the joint was junk, glue, and a couple of staples. And I thought, well, that's about right. That's about how I feel. Held together and hollow. Now, I could have sat in that chair another 15 years. Plenty of men do. You get a routine, you get your shows, you get your one good meal a day, and you wait it out. And something in me stubborn, I guess, the same stubborn that made me redo a cabinet door 3 times till the reveal was even something in me just wouldn't lie down for it. I didn't want to be comfortable. I'd been comfortable. Comfortable was killing me slow. I wanted to feel alive again. That's the whole of it. 80 years old, and I wanted to feel something the way you feel when the work's going good and the light's coming in the shop window and you lose track of the afternoon. I hadn't felt that in years, and I'd about decided I never would again, that it was just a thing that goes when you get old and you make your peace. Turns out I was wrong about that, but I tried a whole lot of wrong roads first. So let me tell you about the roads that didn't take, and then about the one that did, which was about the last place on God's earth I'd have gone looking. First thing I tried was the thing everybody from Toledo tries, Florida. I rented a place near Fort Myers for the winter, figured the problem was the gray, and Ohio in February is genuinely gray. I'll give you that. Gray like the inside of an old furnace. So I went and sat in the sun, and I'll tell you what I found out. You can be just as dead in the sun as you can in the cold. I sat on a little concrete patio watching other retired fellas drive golf carts to the mailbox, and I felt exactly as flat as I had back home, only sweatier. Came back in April. Cost me a fortune to feel nothing in a nicer climate. Then I bought a fishing cabin up near the lake. Always thought when I retired I'd fish. Turns out I don't like fishing. I like the idea of fishing. Sitting in a boat waiting for a bluegill to make a decision, That's just the quiet kitchen again with mosquitoes. Sold the cabin at a loss inside a year. Tried a woodworking club too, which you'd think would be the one. Room full of men my age, table saws, the good smell of sawdust, and I wanted it to work so bad, but it was mostly talking. Fellas standing around talking about wood, showing each other pictures on their phones of things they were going to build. Nobody built much. I made 2 cutting boards and a birdhouse and quit because I didn't need a club to remind me I used to matter. That's a rough thing to sit in a room with, so none of it took. And I was about ready to call it to accept that this gray was just the last chapter and my job was to be graceful about it. Then 2 things happened close together. My older brother Walt passed out in Pennsylvania. We weren't close, not really, but he had no kids, and he left me a little money. Not a fortune enough to matter, not enough to be stupid with. And around the same time, I cashed out an old life insurance rider that wasn't doing anybody any good. Put together, it was a one-time window, a little pile of money that said, if you're ever going to do a fool thing, old man, now's when you can afford it. And the second thing was my knee. I'd been going to a physical therapy clinic for a bad knee, carpenter's knees, 50 years of kneeling on subfloors they go. And there was a young therapist there. Worked on me twice a week. Sharp kid, gentle hands, Thai. Grew up in Thailand and come over for school and stayed for the work. And one afternoon he's got his elbow in my calf and he's homesick. You can hear it. And he starts telling me about where he's from. Little town on the coast, way down south of the tourist stuff. A bay shaped like a crescent moon with the fishing boats coming in at dawn. A mountain right in the middle of town covered in monkeys, actual monkeys. He says they'll steal your sunglasses. He says the name Prachuap Kiri Khan, and I can't say it back to save my life. And he laughs and I laugh, and I realize it's the first time I'd laughed at anything in about a month. I went home and I couldn't shake it. This bay I'd never seen. Fishing boats and a monkey mountain and a name I couldn't pronounce. I want to be clear. I'm a practical man. I don't do signs. I don't do the universe is calling me. But I'm 76 years old, sitting in a quiet house with a little pile of window money, and there's this picture in my head that won't leave. And I thought I could just go look, not move, not do anything crazy, just go see the bay with my own eyes, and if it's nothing, it's nothing, and I'll have had a trip. So I booked a flight to the other side of the world to go look at a mountain full of monkeys at 76. My son thought I'd lost it. Maybe I had. Best fool thing I ever did. The first thing Thailand does to you is the heat. I mean, it hits you like opening an oven. I stepped out of that airport in Bangkok and the air had weight to it, wet and thick, and I thought, well, Ken, you've made a mistake, and it's a long way to come to make it. Then it was a train down the coast, hours of it, rice fields and little stations, and finally a small town with a small station, and that was Prachuap. 76 years old, jet-lagged to the bone, standing on a platform in a country where I could not read one single sign. And I'll be straight with you, the first day I about turned around. The town was tiny. I'd built up this picture, and the real thing was smaller and hotter and more foreign than any picture. Hardly anybody spoke English. This isn't one of those places where everybody speaks English. No matter what you've heard, it's a working Thai fishing town, and the English is thin. I tried to order lunch by pointing at another man's plate and holding up one finger, and I felt about as useful as a screen door on a submarine. Old, foreign, mute. Not exactly the aliveness I'd flown 20 hours for. I almost changed my flight that first night. Lay in a fan-cooled room listening to a rooster that clearly didn't own a clock, thinking, this was a rich man's whim, and you're not a rich man, go home. But I'd paid for the week, so I stayed the week. And on the third morning I couldn't sleep, so I walked down to the water before the sun was properly up. Ao Prachuap, they call the bay. And there it was, the crescent, just like the kid said. The fishing boats were coming in. These long wooden boats painted every color. Motors puttering and old fellas hauling in the night's catch and women setting up along the seafront. And the light was coming up pink over the water and hitting the mountain. Monkey Mountain, Kauchong Kratchak, with its little temple way up on top and a stairway going up the side. There was a stall doing cowman gai. Chicken and rice, that's all it is, but done right. And a woman handed me a bowl, and I sat on a plastic stool at the edge of the promenade and ate it watching the boats. And the broth was clean, and the chicken was tender, and the whole bay was waking up around me. And something moved. I don't know how else to say it. Something that had been switched off for about 5 years flickered just for a second, like a shop light buzzing before it catches. I sat there a long time. A monk came down off the mountain on his morning alms, round, barefoot, orange robe, and folks knelt and gave him rice. And I didn't know a thing about any of it, but it was something. It was the opposite of my kitchen at 2 in the afternoon. I didn't decide anything that morning. I want to be honest, there was no lightning bolt. I didn't stand up and shout, "This is it." I'm not built that way. I just noticed I'd stopped counting the days till I could go home. That was all. That was the whole miracle. I'd stopped waiting to leave. I flew back to Toledo, but I'd felt the light buzz. And once you've felt it after 5 years of nothing, you can't just go back to nothing. So I started doing the thing a carpenter does before he commits. I started measuring. Now here's where you find out if a dream's got legs or not. You put it on paper. I'm a carpenter. 50 years. I never cut a board till I'd measured it twice and figured the whole run in my head. I wasn't about to move to the far side of the planet on a feeling. So I sat down at my kitchen table with a legal pad, same as I'd figure a job, and I did the honest arithmetic. Coming in every month, my Social Security is right around $1,780. I worked 50 years. I paid in the whole time, so it's a real check. Don't let anybody tell you a tradesman doesn't have Social Security. And on top of that, I've got a little carpenter's union pension, about $400 a month. So call it $2,180 a month, all in. That's what I've got to work with. It's not a lot. It's not nothing. It's a plain man's retirement. Then the other column. What's it actually cost to live in Prachuap? And I didn't guess. I asked around. I looked. I priced it like a materials list. A simple one-bedroom near the bay, fan and an aircon unit for the hot nights, about 14,000 baht a month, which is around $425. Utilities and the aircon running, call it $75. Food, and I eat well down here. Markets and the stalls and cooking a little runs me around $270 a month. Getting around motorbike taxis and the song thieves, those little pickup trucks with the benches in the back, maybe $45. Phone and internet, $25. My routine doctor visits and medicine I pay for out of pocket, and that's about $90 a month. And then a good cushion on top for the visa, a coffee, the odd thing that breaks. Add it up honest, and I live on about $1,450 a month. Comfortable, not scraping. And I'll tell you flat, because you'll hear people online swear you can live like a king in Thailand on $500 a month. That's a fairy tale. You'd be miserable, and I wouldn't do it. $1,450 is the honest number for a decent life in a small town, and I'd rather tell you the true number than a pretty one. So $2,180 coming in, about $1,450 going out. That leaves me around $730 a month of breathing room. First time in years my money worked out to more than my life cost. That surplus isn't for yachts. It quietly rebuilds my cushion, which I'll get to why that matters, the visa. At my age, you don't want the complicated route. There's one called the OA you apply for from back home, but it makes you carry a big Thai-approved health insurance policy. And at 80, that policy is either impossible to get or costs more than the rent, so I skipped it. I did what most every older fella down here actually does. I came in and converted to what they call a non-O visa right here in the country. For the money proof, I parked 800,000 baht, about $24,000 in a Thai bank, seasoned it the way they want, and that satisfies them. Then it's an annual renewal and a 90-day report where you go tell the office you still live where you said you live. Bureaucracy. I'll come back to that because it's a genuine pain. One more thing, and it's the big one for a man my age. Medicare. I'm 80, so I'm on Medicare, of course. But here's what folks get wrong. Medicare does not cover you 1 inch outside the United States. Not here, not anywhere. So I made a choice. I keep paying my Medicare Part B, a little over $200 a month, so that if I ever fly home for something serious, I'm covered back there. Some expats drop it. I keep it. That's a personal call, and I made mine. I flew home, packed what mattered, gave the rest away, and I came back to Prachuap on a one-way ticket at 77 years old. Sold the tools last. That was the hard part. But I kept my good hand plain. A man's got to keep something. I'd be lying to you if I said it was easy from there. It wasn't. And I promised myself if I ever told this story, I'd tell the hard middle too, because that's the part the daydreams leave out. The heat, first. I moved in the wet season, and there were nights the aircon just pushed the hot air around, and I lay there sticky and old and wondering what in the world I'd done. You don't stop noticing the heat. Exactly. You just make a truce with it. You slow down. You do your walking in the morning. You learn why the whole town goes quiet in the afternoon. Then the paperwork. That 90-day report I mentioned, every 90 days you go sit in an immigration office and prove you still exist at your address. And the annual visa renewal. The little stack of papers. The bank letter. The this and the that. It's not hard exactly, it's just fussy, and there's always some form you didn't know about. First time I nearly lost my temper, standing in line sweating, till the fella behind me, a German, been here 20 years, leaned over and told me which paper I was missing. My pen rye, he says. Never mind, it'll be fine. That's a phrase you hear a lot down here. It took me a while to believe it. But the real hard part wasn't the heat or the forms. It was the quiet. Same quiet I'd run from, and here it was again, waiting for me on the other side of the world, only now I couldn't even order a bowl of soup without pointing. I'd traded a lonely kitchen in Toledo for a lonely room on a bay. Some nights that felt like a genuinely stupid trade. And there was one night, I'll tell you straight, I had the suitcase out, open on the bed, about half packed. Sitting there with my thumb over the phone, the airline pulled up, one press away from a flight to Bangkok and a flight home, and the whole thing filed under old man's foolishness. I sat like that a long while. I didn't press it. And it wasn't courage, I want to be honest. It was more like stubbornness and a little bit of shame. I'd sold my tools. I didn't have a kitchen chair to run home to, so I shut the suitcase and I thought, all right, you can't talk to anybody and you can't read a sign, but you can show up. That's a thing you know how to do. You showed up to a job site for 50 years, so show up. And that's what turned it, not some big moment. Just showing up, the same places, every day, like framing a wall, one stud at a time. There was a coffee stall near my place, a woman about my daughter's age. First week, she just handed me my coffee. By the second week, I'd learned to say Sawadee crap, hello, and Kop Kun crap, thank you badly, and she'd correct me, gentle, laughing, and I'd try again. By the second month, she had my order ready when she saw me coming up the street. That's it. That's the whole thing. But you have no idea what that does to a man who'd gone 3 days at a stretch not talking to a soul. The market auntie who sold me my greens started throwing in an extra chili and waving off the coins. The motorbike taxi fellow learned my name well, learned Ken, which down here comes out more like King, and I answer to it now, proud as anything. Thai folks don't rush you into their lives. There's a thing they call kring jai, a kind of politeness that keeps its distance, doesn't want to impose. So it's slow, but it's real. It's earned, and earned suits me better than easy ever did. Here's how I knew it had worked. It wasn't a feeling, it was my legs. About a year in, one morning, I decided to climb the mountain. Khao Chong Krachak Monkey Mountain, right in the middle of town, that stairway going up to the little temple at the top. 300 some steps, and the monkeys line the rail the whole way up, and they'll take your glasses right off your face if you're not smart about it. I'd been telling myself for a year I'd do it and finding reasons not to. That morning I just started up, and I want you to understand a year before, in Toledo, I got winded going out to the mailbox. Bad knee, no wind, a man closing up shop on his own body. And here I am, going up this mountain, step after step, monkey screeching, sweat coming off me, and I got to the top and I did not stop the whole way. Stood up there next to that temple with the whole Crescent Bay laid out below me and the boats like toys on the water, breathing like a bellows and grinning like a damn fool. 80 years old, and I climbed a mountain full of monkeys. I hadn't felt that alive since the good years in the shop. Maybe not even then. It wasn't just the climb. I was sleeping through the night, first time in a decade. Something about the walking, the heat, the pace of the place, I don't know, but I slept like a young man. And the reason I had the wind for that mountain is I'd been walking that seafront every morning for a year, out at dawn with the boats and the monks on their alms rounds, a bowl of something and a coffee, and my body just quietly came back to me. And then the other thing came back. My hands. My landlady's got a little shop, and one of her stools had a busted leg wobbling all over. I fixed it. Then I got some teak and I built her a new one, proper joinery, no glue and staples, a stool that'll outlive both of us. She near cried, and she told somebody, and that somebody had a chair, and well, I fix people's furniture now. Word got around the way it does in a small town. I'm not running a business. I don't need the money. I'm the Farang who mends things, the old American on the corner who's handy. I've got a purpose that fits in a shoebox of tools, and it turns out that's all a purpose ever needed to be. My son, the one who thought I'd lost my mind, we do a video call most Sundays. First year, he kept asking when I was coming to my senses and moving home. Then I turned the phone around one morning and showed him the bay, the boats, the light on the water, and he went quiet. He's coming to visit this winter. His mother never understood why I couldn't just sit still. I don't think I understood it either, till here. Now I'll be honest about the health care, because it's the thing folks my age worry over, and rightly. Day to day, it's wonderful. A doctor's visit runs me $30, $40, and the little local hospital's fine for the ordinary stuff. But I'm 80. For anything serious, it's up the coast to the big private hospital in Hua Hin, 90 minutes, or on to Bangkok for the real specialists, some of the best hospitals in the world, honestly. And at my age, I couldn't buy private insurance if I wanted to. It's priced clean out of reach, so I don't pretend. I keep a cushion set aside from my savings, earmarked for the day the big thing comes, because it comes for everybody. That's the honest arrangement. It's not perfect, but I've made my peace with it, same as I made peace with the heat. So that's where I am. 80 years old, small town on a Thai bay, and I'll tell you the plain truth of it, which is the only kind of truth I trust. It is not paradise. I don't want you walking away thinking I found paradise, because there's no such place, and anybody selling you one is selling you something. I miss easy conversation, the kind where you don't have to work for it, where you can be quick and funny in your own language. My Thai is still bad. I'll always be a bit of an outsider here, the tall old Farang, and some days that sits heavier than others. And there's the healthcare thing always sitting in the back of my mind, the big day cushion I hope I never need. Those are real. I'm not going to paper over them for you. That'd make me no better than the fella who told you $500 a month and a tropical smile. But here's the other column, and it's the one that counts. I wake up before the sun now because I want to. I walk a Crescent Bay with fishing boats coming in and monks going by, and I know the coffee woman's name and she knows mine. I climbed a mountain full of monkeys at 80. I fix people's chairs. I sleep like a stone. And that gray, that flat dead gray that had me sitting in a quiet Toledo kitchen, not caring whether I spoke out loud for 3 days, that's gone. Not managed. Gone. I tried everywhere is the thing. I tried Florida and a fishing cabin and a room full of men talking about wood. I tried all the sensible fixes a sensible man tries, and none of them lit the light back up. This little town I couldn't even pronounce did. I don't fully understand why. Maybe it's that a place this alive won't let you sit still in it. Maybe it's that I had to go somewhere I couldn't hide in my old self, where I had to show up brand new at 77 and build a life one stud at a time, like a job. Maybe I'm just an old carpenter who needed something to make right, and it turned out the thing was me. I'm not telling you to sell your tools and fly to Thailand. Lord, no. It's hard, it's foreign, it's not for everybody, and if you're happy where you sit, then you stay right there and God bless you. But if you're where I was, if you've hit the age where the days all taste the same and you've quietly decided the aliveness is behind you, I'm here to tell you it might not be. It wasn't for me, and I was about as far gone as they come, 80 years old, feeling alive again. I didn't think that was still on the menu. Turns out it was. Turns out you just have to go find the table. Before I let you go, one last thing. If any of that landed, if you've got that same gray I had, and that little itch wondering whether a plain man's money could ever stretch to a life like this, there's a free tool down in the description worth your while. The Honest Thailand Retirement Starter Kit, it's called. I didn't make it, and I'm not selling you a thing. It's just a straight self-check that'll tell you honest whether this is even worth your while. It's as ready to talk you out of it as into it, and a worksheet where you run your own real numbers, city by city, the way I sat at my kitchen table and ran mine. Cost you nothing. And if it tells you to stay right where you are, well, that's an honest answer too, and worth knowing. That's all I've got for you. Take care of yourself.